Hi folks, my name is Jim Gale, and I originally had an idea to do a video just for my friends and family, but I decided to put this out to the world, make it public on YouTube. The intention of this video is to really wake people up, a call to action, so to say. What I've learned about the global economy and the global systems, and a lot of different systems, is that there's a strong potential for complete systemic collapse. And so this video, it's not going to be, it's going to be kind of scary, some of the information, but it's real. You can verify all this information, and hopefully you are motivated by the end of this to do something about it. And I'll give you some ideas towards the end of the video on what you can do about it. Let's start with demographics. Did you know that the baby boomers are past their peak spending years? The average person spends the most when they're 46. Affluent people spend the most when they're 53. Well, the baby boomers are now older than 53, and they are now, instead of adding money to our tax revenues, they are now going to be taking money away in the form of Social Security, Medicare, and so on. And it's money that they've earned and that they deserve, right? Well, how do we pay for that? Our Keynesian economic model is based on growth, constant growth. Well, that's not sustainable. What we need is a sustainable economic model instead of a growth-based model. To make matters much worse, do you know what a fiat currency is? Well, we, the United States of America, and most of the world has been operating on a fiat currency since 1971. In 1971, if you took a US dollar and read the bottom, it would say redeemable in gold. It's legal tender redeemable in gold. Well, President Nixon took us off the gold standard and made the Bretton Woods Act inoperable. What does that mean? Well, that means that our dollar right now is backed up by one thing, and that's called confidence. What happens if we lose confidence in the dollar? Well, the dollar fails. Every fiat currency in the history of the world has failed. The average lasts 27 years. We're going on 45 years. Now, what makes a currency fail? Well, when they start printing money. Now, another thing regarding currencies that is really freaky right now is the fact that the dollar is being debased as the global reserve currency. Now, what is a global reserve currency? Well, for probably 40, 50 years, and you can find out this stat online as well, the dollar has been the global reserve currency, meaning that the dollar is known throughout the world as the only currency that can be traded for things like oil. And it has been the currency that the globe has held the most confidence in. Like I said before, confidence is what makes the US dollar valuable. It has nothing else backing it. So what's happening right now is the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now over the last year a bunch more countries are joining, and they're creating a new reserve currency. Now, it might be the yuan from China, or it might be a new currency that they make up. When that happens, and it happens in full speed, it's already happening to some degree, but when it happens in full strength, our lives will change in the United States. The only reason we've been able to live this lavish lifestyle is because our currency has been so strong for the last 50, 60 years. Here are a couple of reasons why fiat currencies always fail. One is it's inevitable that the governments decide for some reason or another to print money. And a couple of years ago in the United States, they started the policy of quantitative easing. And we went from X trillion in debt to over $18 trillion in debt, because the government is simply printing money. Now, the manipulation of interest rates is another thing that is not sustainable. Interest rates have to be set by the market and not by some government, because that's not real. Price discovery cannot happen when the government gets involved. About 3 weeks ago, the Swiss decided to do something amazing. A little background on this. Okay, back in 2011, the Swiss pegged to the euro 1.2 Swiss francs for every euro. And pegging means that it was going to be consistent. That was always the way it was going to be until they unpegged, which they said publicly that they were basically never going to do, or not in the near future, right? So about 4 weeks ago, the Swiss issued a statement saying, we are very happy to be with the euro and we are going to continue our path along with the euro. A week later, they unpegged from the euro, which shocked the global financial communities. The Swiss franc went up 30%, or it can be said that the euro went down 30% or thereabouts in one day. And then it fluctuated, it ended up way down below the euro. Gold shot up, other things, a lot of things happened. People lost billions and other people made billions of dollars on that move. What does that mean? Well, what it means is there are currency wars starting right now, the likes of which we've never seen because we've never had such a globally integrated system. Think back. Now I want you to think back to 2008. How many of you knew that the global banking industry was about to collapse, that they were insolvent, that they had no money, and that we were literally, I've heard 24 hours or 72 hours away from complete credit shutdown? That means you put your credit card in and nothing comes out. That means you go to swipe your credit card at the gas station and nothing comes out. We were 72 hours away from that. The reason we got out of that was because the government did a bailout and started printing trillions of dollars. Those trillions of dollars went to the bank. But here's what's amazing about it. We didn't know about it. Lehman Brothers was completely bankrupt, and the only people that knew about it were a few people in a room. That's what happened to the Swiss franc the other day. Nobody knew, except for a few people who make monetary policy, that that was going to happen. Now, what else? The question is, what else is going on that we don't know about? Well, if you study like I have been doing for years now, I can virtually guarantee that a lot of stuff is going on that we don't know about, and it doesn't look good. People are scrambling all over the world, and a currency, this currency war, could be the death of the dollar, at least to some degree. So what we're going to talk about are ways to secure yourself, to diversify, and we'll get into that next. Did you know that Germany has had most of its gold held in U.S. vaults for the last 50, 60 years? And that Germany, about 4 years ago, maybe it was 2009, 2010, you can check this out online, asked for repatriation of their gold. They asked that the United States send them their gold, right? Well, guess what the United States said? No. They said, we're not going to send you your gold. So Germany said, well, we would like to send auditors in to look at our gold and to do an audit of our gold. So you know what the United States said? No, you cannot audit your own gold reserves. Why? Why would they do that? So Ron Paul and a bunch of people in Congress said, we want to do an audit of the Federal Reserve. An audit. That seems so logical and so easy. Just, yes, let's do it. Let's get this audit done. Guess what they said? After a big battle in Congress, somehow, some way, they stopped the audit. They will not allow people to see what's in Fort Knox, for instance. What does that mean? Well, who knows? You can speculate on that yourself. But what I would say it means is never buy paper gold or silver. Instead, as an insurance policy, you might want to buy physical gold and silver. Have some of it on you, not necessarily as an investment, but literally just as an insurance policy. I've got some gold and silver, and I hope it goes down in value. If it goes down in value, that means the economy's doing okay. That means the dollar's strong relative to gold and silver. But with what I've learned, I think it's wise for everybody to have 20, 30%, maybe a little less, but a good chunk of their total assets in gold and silver. Now, monetary policy is just one issue that is plaguing our world or concerning our world today. There are so many other issues that experts, top people in their field, are very serious about. A lot of people, some of the smartest people in the world, or at least people that are considered the smartest, Hawking for one, say that it's too late. That the systems, the positive feedback loops for, let's say, global warming are already in such a manner or going at such a rate that there's no way to stop. I personally am going to always do my best to spread the word and to do more sustainable things, because I do believe that the human spirit, the human mind can do amazing things. But let's get into some of these other situations that are going around the globe right now. And then you have got peak oil, and you've got, of course, climate change. And folks, climate change, well, a lot of governments are calling that our #1 issue. Scientists are calling that a #1 issue. There are some folks that are on the other side saying it's not real and that people are taking advantage of us and taking advantage of the crisis. After all the studies I've done, I think it is real. I think there is something to it. I also know that people are going to take advantage of the crisis. Politicians and profiteers are going to take advantage of any crisis if they can find a way to make money from it. So don't let that kind of dissuade you from the idea that we do need to live more sustainable lives. According to studies pulled together from 125 sources, and please do your own research online, we are losing soil at 10 times the rate of replenishment. In other words, we're mining soil at a rate that's unsustainable. Now, what does that mean? Okay, you've got the bees, 30% of the bees or more are gone. That means less pollination. That means less fruits and other foods that need pollination to produce. Now we've got soil that's going away rapidly, that's being mined and ruined at a rate that's massively unsustainable. What else? You've heard all the stories about water and the water systems throughout the country and the world being mined as well, and being mined at a rate that's not replenishable. So what happens the day that people in California turn on a tap and no water comes up? Well, this has already happened. It's amazing. Property values plummet, and it's only going to get worse at the rate of consumption unless we do simple things that harvest water, that store water, that clean water. These things can be done. That's what we're going to talk more about today. Have you ever heard of the term normalcy bias? It's kind of self-explanatory, right? People are biased towards homeostasis, towards what's normal to them in their lives. In other words, they think that things are always going to be the way they've always been. Well, that is really just absolutely ridiculous. Now, it has some basis in truth. I mean, scientists love the term homeostasis because things tend to go back to the way they've always been. However, if we take that same idea and apply it to the world, then we are for sure doomed when it comes to currency and when it comes to some of these other systems, because they are for sure being exploited. So look at it from the long-term perspective. Yeah, in the next 2 years, things might be normal. In the next 10 years, things might be normal, although I'm pretty sure we don't have near that long. What is normal on a long-term basis is that when you mess with currencies, currencies fail. When you manipulate interest rates, when you print money, when you start having wars, the world changes rapidly. Now, we've lived, or at least I've lived, in a generation that's been sheltered from most of this stuff. Yeah, we see it on the news, but we don't experience it. And then again, I've traveled to 45 countries, and I've seen it. I've lived in Pakistan. I've been to Karachi. I've been to other places where poverty was, what we consider poverty is the norm. You know, I'm so glad to be living in Costa Rica, because right here in my backyard, this is a normal small yard. It's only less than a quarter acre. In fact, probably an eighth of an acre. There's probably 9 different kinds of food growing, and we're getting chickens and we're getting tilapia as well. So on part 2, what we're going to talk about is some of the things you can do at your house, your little homestead. Easy things that will help you weather the storm that may come. And I think that's inevitable unless something changes. And the something has to change now. And that brings up the question, is Congress, are politicians going to make the changes, or are they going to kick the can down the road? You can answer that one for yourself.